It was a cool autumn evening, the kind of evening when the sun sets early and the streets are lit with golden shades of light that slowly fade into darkness. The city was alive, people rushing to get home, couples holding hands, and children dragging their school bags behind them as they talked excitedly about their day. In the middle of all this, there was a little girl named Lily, just 6 years old, walking hand in hand with her father, James. James was no ordinary man. He was a millionaire, one of the most successful entrepreneurs in the city. People respected him, admired him, and some even envied him for his wealth and influence. But behind all the money and success, James carried the quiet burden of being a single dad. His wife had passed away when Lily was only 2 years old, and from that day, he had sworn to devote his life to raising his daughter with all the love and care he could give. That evening, after finishing up a business meeting, James decided to pick Lily up from her ballet class. They were walking towards the car, parked a little farther down the street, when Lily tugged at his hand. "Daddy," she said in her sweet, innocent voice. "Why is she sleeping here?" James followed the direction of Lily's little finger. On the side of the sidewalk, against the cold wall of a building, lay a young girl, no older than 12. She was curled up on the ground, her clothes worn out, her hair messy, her tiny hands clutched around an old teddy bear that looked just as broken as she did. For a moment, James froze. His heart tightened at the sight. This was not unusual in the city. People passed by homeless children and adults every day without even sparing a glance. But when his daughter's innocent question broke the silence, he realized he couldn't just walk away. "Sweetheart," James said softly, kneeling down beside her. "She's not sleeping because she wants to. She has no home to go to." Lily's eyes widened, filled with both shock and sadness. "No home, but everyone has a home, right, Daddy?" James looked into her eyes and felt the weight of her question. He didn't want to lie to her, but he also didn't want to expose her innocent mind to the harshness of reality too soon. Still, she deserved the truth. "Not everyone, my love," he whispered. Lily's eyes filled with tears as she knelt down near the girl. She gently touched her teddy bear and whispered, "She must be so cold, Daddy." James felt a lump rise in his throat. He had everything: mansions, cars, money, servants, comfort, and yet here was a child lying on the cold pavement, shivering, with nothing. Something inside him broke. Without thinking further, he gently placed his hand on the girl's shoulder. "Hey there," he said softly. The girl stirred, opening her tired eyes slowly. Fear flashed across her face as she tried to sit up, clutching her teddy bear tightly. "It's okay," James said quickly, raising his hand slightly to show he meant no harm. "We won't hurt you. My name is James, and this is my daughter, Lily." The little girl looked at them with frightened eyes, too weak to say anything. "What's your name?" Lily asked gently. The girl hesitated, then whispered, "Emma." Her voice was hoarse, as if she hadn't spoken in a long time. "Emma," Lily repeated with a smile. "That's a pretty name." James could see how thin Emma was, her cheeks hollow, her clothes barely holding together. His heart ached. "Where are your parents, Emma?" he asked softly. Tears welled up in her eyes. She shook her head slowly and said nothing. James didn't push further. He knew that sometimes silence spoke louder than words. "Daddy," Lily tugged on his sleeve again. "Can we take her home? Please?" James looked at his daughter. He saw the pure innocence in her eyes, the same innocence his late wife once had when she used to help strangers. For a brief moment, he hesitated. Bringing a stranger home, especially a child with no background, was risky. What if there were issues? What if she had no papers, no identity? But then he looked at Emma again, and all his doubts faded. "Yes, sweetheart," he finally said. "We'll take her home." Emma's eyes widened in shock. No, I don't want to cause trouble," she whispered. "You're not trouble," James said firmly. "You're a child. You deserve safety, warmth, and love." With gentle care, James helped Emma to her feet. She was weak, trembling, but she allowed him to help. Lily held her teddy bear so it wouldn't fall, smiling warmly at her new friend. When they reached the car, James opened the back seat and helped Emma sit beside Lily. On the way home, Lily kept talking to Emma, telling her about her toys, her room, her favorite cartoons, and how they could play together. Slowly, Emma's frightened expression softened, and a tiny smile appeared on her face for the first time. When they arrived at James's mansion, Emma's eyes widened in disbelief. The house stood tall and magnificent, glowing with lights, with a huge garden in front. She had never seen anything like it. "Don't worry," Lily whispered, holding her hand. "It's big, but it's really cozy inside. You'll like it." As they stepped inside, the warm air from the fireplace greeted them. The house staff looked surprised when James walked in with Emma, but one look at their boss's serious face and no one questioned him. "Get a warm bath ready and bring some fresh clothes for her," James instructed the housekeeper. Emma hesitated, holding tightly to her teddy bear. James knelt down beside her again. "It's okay, Emma, you're safe here." After a warm bath, fresh clothes, and a hot meal, Emma looked like a completely different child. Though her eyes still carried sadness, her cheeks had a faint glow now, and her body wasn't trembling anymore. She sat quietly at the dinner table, not quite believing any of this was real. Lily, on the other hand, was excited. "Daddy, can Emma sleep in my room tonight?" James smiled gently. "Of course." That night, as the girls snuggled into Lily's soft bed, James stood by the door, watching them. He saw Lily whispering something to Emma, making her giggle softly, and his heart melted. For the first time in years, the house felt fuller, warmer. But deep down, James knew this wasn't the end. Emma wasn't just a guest for one night. She needed more than a warm bed, she needed a family. The next morning, James began making calls. He reached out to social services, lawyers, and private investigators to learn about Emma's past. Days turned into weeks, and slowly, pieces of her story came together. Emma had lost her parents in a tragic accident 2 years ago. With no relatives willing to take her in, she had been placed in an orphanage. But the orphanage was overcrowded and underfunded. Emma, unable to cope with the harsh conditions, had run away. She had been surviving on the streets ever since, relying on scraps of food and the kindness of strangers, though kindness was rare. James was furious when he learned this. How could a child be left to suffer like this? He vowed to change it. During this time, Emma slowly blossomed under James and Lily's care. At first, she was shy, afraid to speak too much, always expecting to be sent away. But Lily's constant love broke down her walls. They played together, ate together, and even went to school together once James arranged it. One evening, as James tucked Lily into bed, Emma shyly came to the door. "Mr. James," she whispered. "Yes, sweetheart." She hesitated, then said softly, "Thank you, for everything." James knelt down, looking into her eyes. "Emma, you don't need to thank me. You deserve this life. You deserve love, care, and a family." Her eyes welled up with tears. "But, why me? You could have walked away, like everyone else." James felt his own eyes sting. He placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "Because no child should ever feel unwanted. And because my daughter reminded me of something very important that night, you are not invisible. You matter." Emma broke into tears, hugging him tightly. For the first time, she allowed herself to believe that maybe she belonged somewhere. Months passed, and the bond grew stronger. James officially began the adoption process. It wasn't easy. There were court hearings, paperwork, and endless questions. But James, with his determination and resources, made it happen. Finally, the day came when the judge declared Emma as James's legal daughter. When the announcement was made, Lily jumped with joy, hugging Emma tightly. "You're my sister now, forever," she squealed. Emma cried, unable to contain her happiness. For a child who had once slept cold and hungry on the streets, this was nothing short of a miracle. James looked at his 2 daughters, his heart swelling with love. He realized that sometimes, the greatest treasures in life are not wealth or success, but the family you create with love. Years later, Emma grew into a confident, intelligent young woman. She often spoke about her past, but not with bitterness, with gratitude. She wanted to dedicate her life to helping children like her, children who had no home or family. With James's support, she started a foundation for homeless children, giving them shelter, education, and, most importantly, love. Lily stood proudly by her sister's side, always reminding her of the night they met, the night she asked, "Daddy, why is she sleeping here?" And James, watching his daughters, knew that his late wife would be smiling down from heaven, proud of the family they had become. Sometimes, it takes the pure heart of a child to remind us of our humanity. Sometimes, one small question can change lives forever. And that night, on a cold city street, when a little girl pointed to another child and asked why she was sleeping there, a story of love, hope, and second chances began. Because love doesn't just change one life, it can change the world. So the next time you see someone in need, remember Emma's story. Maybe your small act of kindness could be the beginning of a miracle. Thank you for staying with us until the end of this heartwarming journey. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to share it with others, because stories like this deserve to be heard.